Hey guys, Andre here. To show off what might be my final Super Mario Maker level ever, at least until Super Mario Maker 2 or the Switch version or whatever ends up being called. So yeah, I actually started the stage over a year and a half ago, or around a year and a half ago, when I was working on our epic 2-hour Zelda analysis. Because I was getting so sick of working on it, I needed a break, something else to take my mind off of it. So why not put all that knowledge that I had gained from it to work in Super Mario Maker and see if I can make Zelda Breath of the Wild's Great Plateau an actual stage. And that's what I ended up doing. Now the problem was, at the time, I hit a few brick walls, and while I had some of the concepts locked down, I just couldn't figure out the rest of it. So I kind of put it on the back burner for a while and really didn't do anything with it until recently, when I found out that Nintendo was shutting down Miiverse. Now Miiverse is kind of the heart and soul of Mario Maker, but I love getting the comments on the stage and seeing what people thought of them. So I thought, you know what, I want to finish the stage finally and get it up before Miiverse shuts down. And I did! I finished it literally hours before Miiverse shut down. Here's the problem though, I didn't take into account the fact that Nintendo would release an update literally seconds after I posted the stage, that an update to Mario Maker that shut down everything about Miiverse in this game. So even though Miiverse was still up and running, no one could comment on my levels. That was super sad. I actually had a whole video ready to go and ready to publish that I ended up not publishing because of the whole Miiverse fiasco, and we just covered Miiverse shutting down instead. So I'm back one more time to finally show off this level in its full proper glory. And I wanted to show it off to you guys, including my behind-the-scenes details afterward. So, before we get to it though, and I realize this has been a pretty long intro, but I wanted to give all that context, this is a stage that, since it's very much puzzle-based, I highly, highly, highly recommend you go play it for yourself. I know a lot of you probably sold your Wii U's or whatever, but if you have the chance, please go check it out before you watch this video, because it will spoil everything about this stage. And I spent a lot of time trying to come up with the puzzles for it. Otherwise, with that, let's go ahead and dive on in and show off Zelda Breath of the Wild, the Great Plateau, in Super Mario Maker. So of course the stage begins with Link reawakening in the Shrine of Resurrection, or the Resurrection Shrine. This one actually has a proper top that comes off of the Resurrection Chamber though. Now we have to activate the Sheikah Terminal in order to open the door and move on. And it opens in a manner very similar to the game itself. Here's a couple of chests right after. What could they be? Oh, it's some old clothes! Perfect! Alright, here's another door we need to open in order to get out. It's a pretty big door, just like in the game itself. And here we go. You may have noticed that we have the same weird symbols on the walls here in the background, just like in the game itself. And let's go ahead and head outside. Yeah, you knew I just had to recreate that moment from Breath of the Wild, where you look out upon the Great Plains of Hyrule from the cliff top here, or cliff edge. Anyways, let's go ahead and, first off, like in the game, you have multiple options. We can climb up to the top here, to that forested area, or we can drop off, we can go left, we can go right, we can go wherever we want. So let's go ahead and head right for now to the very first shrine. Like in the game itself, these are actually themed to the ones in the game itself. And the first one is the Magnesis Shrine. But again, you can go about the shrines in any order. In this case, we have to get the red coin in each one to continue on, or the Spirit Orb, if you will. Alright, so it looks like this clown car is following us around, and there doesn't seem to be anything else we can do here, so let's try climbing up here. Okay, and yeah, it's still following us here, so maybe if we drop down fast enough, run to the right, we can lure it here, onto those blocks, and then onto those blocks, and it'll produce a vine for us. Sweet! That's the power of Magnesis right there. So we're gonna catch a ride in it, and that'll allow us to hopefully get to the top here. There we go. And now we can drop onto the first Spirit Orb. So once again, just to stress the point, if you haven't played the stage already, please go play it first, because we're going to spoil the rest of the puzzles. I'm going to spend a lot of time on these. Alright, let's get out of here. It's time to move on to the next shrine. And time is tight on the stage. So we'll keep going to the right here. Here is a tower. Actually, we'll go up in a sec. And just beyond the tower is, oh man, it is a buried guardian, so that is not good. So let's see if we can try jumping past it. But if we go up to the tower and take a leap of faith, yeah, we got right by it. So here's a wall in the ruins area and a second shrine. So let's go ahead on down here. Which one could this be? We're still waiting. Which shrine is it? Yep, it's a bomb trial, just like in the game itself. So we can see the red coin right there, but how do we get to it? Well, I guess we can try kicking the bombs across to break open that part right there. And we are failing at this right now to allow us to get to that block. So let's go ahead and hit that, and we have another vine. So we still can't do anything, but look at the secret area up here with a spring. So if we can bust through this wall by exploding it, of course. That should allow us to get to that platform. And then we can now drop the spring, and then drop right into the spring here. And now, if we kick the bombs onto that spring, check this out. Oh, well, that didn't quite work. That one should, though. Now we can get to that red coin. Sweet! And we're gonna miss our ride! No! That's gonna cost us precious time. And time is essential in this course, so hopefully I can still make it. We'll, okay, I already found part of the Triforce. Alright, come on. I should mention real quick, too, which I'm actually gonna show off here, so I'll hold off on that. Alright, we got out of here. Alright, and we are running low on time. There are some more old clothes here in case you lost it. That is the edge of the plateau, by the way, the plateau wall. Now let's go ahead and get out of here. Move on to the next shrine, if I can do just that. Get over that tall wall. Get past the Guardian. Alright, we gotta move. Here is the old man's cave, by the way, complete with paraglider. That's what you need the 4 Spirit Orbs for. It'll allow you access to that locked room. So, it looks like we're reaching a cold area at the mountain peak. Which one could this be? Which shrine is this? We're gonna find out. Oh, with all that ice, this has to be Cryonis, right? So what kind of puzzle do we have going on here? Alright, so it looks like we have some platforms to activate when we step onto them. And by platforms, I mean we are creating ice columns, of course, with the power of Cryonis. And there's that red coin there, but how do we break it open? Looks like we're gonna need those Buzzy Beetles, but hey, there's no way to get them across now. So we need to use this door to reset the puzzle, and try this again. And not screw it up. So we're gonna carefully jump over the ice columns so we don't activate them. Then we're gonna use the power of Cryonis, activate them. Oh, we lost our costume there. We'll pretend that didn't happen. Alright, we're gonna keep activating to bring the Buzzy Beetle over. And we got our coin. Alright, our Spirit Orb. Then we can get out of here with a shortcut this time thanks to the door. And we'll continue onward to the 4th and final shrine. And luckily, we can grab some more old clothes here. We're set. And like in the game, the final shrine, or well, one of the shrines rather, I should say, is on a cliff edge you have to climb up to. So let's go ahead and head down here. And which one could this be? Well, of course, it has to be Stasis, because that is the only shrine we haven't done yet. So, yeah, let's see here. Alright, so we have a P-switch, a spring, and we need that spring, I think, to get up to that final red coin. So, okay, well, that went by fast. Alright, okay, what do we do now? If we hit that, it resets the puzzle, we have the spring again, so I could try jumping on it as it passes by. Let's give that a shot. Whoa, okay, no, that thing's way too fast, so let's give this one more try. We'll wait for the P-switch to come back. Alright, if we time this right, you can probably freeze it at the right place. With the power of Stasis. And there we go, we can now reach the final red coin. So we'll wait for that floor to come back. We got our key. Time to go cash in these Spirit Orbs for that sweet paraglider from the old man. Or from the old man's cave. And we are almost out of time, so we gotta move. Go! Go, 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 go. Into the cave, watch out for his fireplace. And we now have our paraglider. Sweet! So we can finally get off the plateau and get out of here. Take the high road here. Or we can go over the tower as well. Alright. We'll start flying a little bit closer. Whoa! That Guardian's freaky. Alright. Oh, what's this? Oh man, looks like Calamity Ganon's about. Alright, so yeah, this has to be Hyrule Castle. So it's going to drop down the center here into the main part of the castle. And looks like Zelda's light is here to guide us. And look, she took us right to the Triforce. Isn't that great? So, yeah guys, there you have it. That was my Zelda Breath of the Wild level. If you want to try it out for yourself, you can use a code on the screen. There's also a link in the description below right to the bookmark page. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun putting it together. And, you know what that means. It's time to show off how I actually made this level, give you some behind-the-scenes details. Because there is a lot going on in this stage, as you may have noticed. Yeah, let's go ahead and go to the core spot. And I'll take you right there. But yeah, I had a lot of fun just trying to theme it to Breath of the Wild, make it as accurate as possible, which is tough, because obviously Breath of the Wild is a 3D game, and this is very much not. But it's fun trying to make those mechanics translate into Mario, especially because I was using the, I had to use the original Mario Brothers theme for this in order to use those costumes, and you know, that theme is most limited of all the Mario ones. There's not much you can do. You can't hold objects and whatnot, so it was really tough making everything work. Anyway, so from the very get-go, the thing I spent the most time on, at least initially, was trying to make this look like the opening of the game. Now, back during E3, I theorized, or during the analysis, I mentioned how it looked like the top of the little containment chamber here for Link. It looked like it actually might have come up. Now, that doesn't end up being the case in the final game, but I ended up keeping it. I really like that idea. I like the idea of it actually opening up, of it being like a cryostasis pod, and then it just never comes back. That's it, it's gone. Now, the way I did that is, the blocks at the end end up, actually I should just keep playing it. I will catch a ride on the blocks, which is very hard to do in the actual full level. They hop up onto their own track section there. If I can grab Mario, jeez. And then they just chill on that own section, so they never come back down. They may have also noticed I have bullet bills here, which normally won't fire in the stage at all. You won't hear or see them unless they cheat like this. And I have them representing the door. So the reason I had a PAL block there is in order to give the visual representation of the door opening in segments, like it does in the game, where the middle opens first, followed by the outside ones. And you can better see that, of course, with the bigger door. Now, I think the doors are the same size in the full game, but this one was a main door, so I wanted to give it a special, you know, make it look even more special. So as you can see, the way I pulled that trick off is by connecting it, or is by having this this blue switch here, which is activated, of course, by Mario landing on it. The P-switch really has nothing to do with it, but one of the P-switch represent the terminal, and that's pushing everything up. And like with the cryostasis pod top, it brings them up to their own section. In this case, it drops them off onto a platform, and then the platform itself comes back down. Unfortunately, there was no way I could figure out to get rid of the platform itself without screwing up everything, so if you hang around long enough, the platform will come back down. But I figure most people aren't going to hang around long enough. Plus, that platform kind of still needs to be there, because if you're screwing around, those, as you can see, the bullet bill launchers will drop back down, meaning that platform needs to be there in order for you to get them back out of the way. So yeah, it kind of worked out that that's the case. Now, when I came back to this stage, I had the idea of adding these, you know, after like a year and a half, I had the idea of adding the diagrams on the walls in the form of using the track pieces. I'm like, hey, wouldn't that be cool to kind of like convey that same thematic idea of like the technology using the track pieces? So that's why they're here, just to give you the illusion of it being like the lights in the background on the walls. Then I had the idea at some point of you starting off as Toon Link and having the old clothes being represented by literally his old outfit or his old 8-bit sprite. I thought that was just a really clever idea, by my standards at least. I'm not saying these are like amazing ideas or anything. To represent the when you climb out of the cave, I had to use a vine, of course, just like in the game. You have to climb out to get out of here. And then yeah, since I forget why. Okay, so right. So the reason I have this being in its whole own area is because when you exit the cave, I realized I wanted this level to be as open as possible. I didn't want things to get in the way of your movement of being able to go around the mountain, just like how it was in the game. So I didn't want this massive structure, this massive room taking up, area, consuming space in my main area, in my main work area of the stage. So that's why I had the small area instead. I put the rest underground. Otherwise, it'd be this huge intrusion on the stage itself. Now, when you actually leave, I use that bird effect in order to recreate the moment where Link steps out onto the edge of the plateau. I love that. When I hit upon that, I'm like, oh my god, that is fantastic. It really gets to the heart of Breath of the Wild, like this really tranquil, you know, serenic moment almost. I have a bunch of trees here, like in the game itself, by duplicating blocks with them. Because when you first exit the plateau, or the cave rather, you have all these trees surrounding you, so I wanted to capture that as much as possible. I also have other trees about to kind of, actually beyond the trees even, I have grass everywhere, as much as possible, like down here even. Now I couldn't do it everywhere because the platform has to be 3 tiles tall in order to do that. Plus, it also screwed up with some layers. Here is one of my first shrines. Actually, the first shrine I designed was, I always had it all the way over here, I believe, for some reason, and it's actually not even the final spot now, but it was always like chilling down here, and then I realized, hey, there's not really a shrine in that location in the final game, so I ended up moving them around to kind of mimic where they are in the game itself. So I spent a lot of time trying to make the shrine look like an actual shrine. I did my best, maybe you can do better, but I tried so hard to use mushrooms to make it look red. And then, let's see what else. I have an actual, like, background for it to make it look like you're going inside it. And then the warp pipe, of course, represents represents a platform taking you down. And to further represent the platform is literally a platform taking you down. So let's go ahead and head back up again, so I don't want to go into the puzzles quite yet, I think. Now, one quirk I came across, literally when I was finishing this, and I finished this the day I was working on it, so I didn't come back to this until literally the day the Miiverse shut down, and all I had done was some of the overworld, the intro, most of the intro. I had the cave idea with the flying machine, and then only one shrine. I only had one shrine done. I had a couple of ideas for the other ones, but none of them really came to fruition. So the only shrine I had done at that point was Magnesis. So I'll touch on that more later. Anyways, so a quirk I realized as I was playing through it and trying to test how people might try and break this stage, is that if you jump up here, you would get stuck inside the shrine, and that would also happen up here too. So I added invisible blocks to prevent that, even though it kind of ruins the look of the shrine. I had that there so you can't screw yourself over and get stuck in it. Something else, the edge of the plateaus here, oh my god, almost fell off there. And actually there's something else I need to show you there. I wanted it to look like the actual edge of the plateaus. I had the elevated walls, I have a brick pattern to make it look distinct from the rest, and then I also made it so there's quite a bit of space beyond the plateaus. Even if you run to the edge, the screen doesn't stop. I'm really anal about the smallest details that don't matter, but I want to make it look like the world is endless. And I love how even the Mario Brothers theme in this case works out great with the mountains in the background. It really looks kind of like Zelda. So if you jump off here, we might be able to reach the edge of the screen, but you can see it's pretty far out there. And I even added the yelling sound effect, as if Link fell to his death, much like how he would in the actual game if you tried jumping off without the paraglider. Yeah, another final thing I added in the final moments leading up to this stage was, I realized Breath of the Wild has treasure chests everywhere, and also things for you to collect. So for the longest time, I had no question blocks here at all. And I realized, hey, I'm already using them for treasure chests in the cave. Why not throw them everywhere? Plus people might lose the costumes, so it'd be a good way to reacquire it. So I started throwing the blocks everywhere, that way you can become Link again, which is kind of crucial to this stage, as you saw with me playing it. And also I thought it's a nice little reward for exploring or looking around. It gave, it better fit the context or the idea, the themes of Breath of the Wild. I also wanted to add like random mushrooms everywhere, like you would find them in the game itself. I couldn't find a good way of doing that without it looking stupid, because the mushrooms move by themselves, which would look dumb. So I could put something to block their path, or I could put them on the track piece, but I didn't like how it looked. I figured the treasure chest idea kind of covered both bases. Alright, what else here? Let's see. Of course, I wanted the idea of climbing in the game. In order to do that, I had to have vines, but I didn't want to have vines everywhere. In fact, I think I was gonna have a vine here originally. I don't know why I don't have one right now. We'll ignore it. The level's not perfect. I didn't want to spend forever on. Oh, I know why I didn't do it here, but I have the ice blocks. Yeah. So I didn't want to ruin that effect by having a vine go up through it. But I tried adding vines wherever I thought was reasonable, where Link could climb up, where he might in the game itself. And like a big part of that too is, you might notice every vine, for the most part, will take you right to the top. It goes a little bit over the edge. That way, it's a seamless experience. You don't have to jump off the vine in order to get on the platform. There was one exception, being the one right here, because I didn't want the vine ruining the look of the plateau, being the edge of the plateau. I didn't want to coming up over that, but I still wanted to be able to climb up and down. These are the stupid things I focus on when making stages. Stupid small details no one would ever think twice about, but me. Yeah, continuing on. Beyond the shrines. We have the tower here, which I knew I wanted to be here. So for the longest time, I was trying to figure out, do I want a tower here, or do I want the Temple of Time? How do I want to do this? I figured the tower made the most sense. There was no way to really make a good looking Temple of Time without it making the tower look, you know, not that tall by comparison. Also, another problem was I really didn't have that much room to work with, given my constraints, so I figured I would skip the Temple of Time, focus on the tower, and it just simplified things a lot. And I tried to make this look as much as like the tower as possible. And I liked how, even though I wasn't really able to give it like a true purpose in this game, the little trick of being able to jump it and go over the Guardian if you do it right, I thought it was a cool little touch. Or it kind of worked out. You may notice I actually buried the Guardian here underground, like in the game itself, and I used a Magic Koopa and put a Spiny on him, which I thought kind of looked like, you know, the top of a Guardian a little bit, but mostly in order to keep him grounded. That way he doesn't teleport around. Now originally I had different blocks making up the tower, like actual blocks, which you may notice I used for the shrines and for the resurrection chamber, because those blocks I thought looked more man-made. The problem was I realized, whoa, okay, actually that is a perfect timing. That shows off the exact problem, which almost never happens now, is that if his magic hit the side of the tower, it would create all kinds of weird crap, like enemies or the fire bars, or all kinds of weird stuff. I didn't want that to happen, so I had to give it ground pieces. That way it didn't, you know, ruin my stage. And so, yeah, so as you can see there, he ruined the block. But that almost never happens, so you almost have to try for that to happen. Yeah, what else? I added the wall here as a last-minute addition to make it look like the wall in the game itself, hiding the shrine. I couldn't make it quite as tall, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to hop over it, but yeah. And then I had a treasure chest here too, like the DLC chest that they added in the game even by the DLC. Once again, if you jump off the plateau, you're just not going to get you very far. I think you can actually see Ganon's castle if you pull it off. You can't reach Ganon's castle. I made sure that was the case. But I did add some extra ground here, just in case you flew over here and dished your flying machine, in the hopes that the flying machine would fall down here so you could rewrite it in case you fell down with it too. Otherwise, I don't think you can climb up here normally without it. So, yeah, I tried making this look like Ganon's castle as much as possible. I had to rush this part, honestly. I didn't spend as much time on it as I would have liked. Just because I needed to get the stage up before Miiverse, which again didn't end up mattering, sadly. Yeah. Let's see. Any other details I want to talk about here before we move underground? Of course, in the frozen section, I added a lot of ice to kind of fade into it to make it look like it actually is getting colder. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Oh, and here I made it look a little bit rockier, like a little bit rockier terrain, like an actual game for that temple as well. So yeah, I think I covered the above ground pretty darn well. So let's go ahead and start heading into the shrines. I can talk about those a little bit. And it's kind of fitting. We're actually going to start off with Cryonis, or I'm sorry, not Cryonis, Stasis, which is the first one I figured out. So originally this one is going to be way more complicated. Maybe I'll show off an early stage, and actually I probably will show off an early version of this at the end if you want, if you hang around with me long enough. So yeah, I was trying to figure out how can I replicate the idea of stasis in this game. How do you freeze something in this game? And then while just dicking around the mechanics, I realized, oh my god, the P-switch freezes the conveyor belts, which is perfect. So originally I had more springs involved. Originally I had it where you had to have a spring bouncing on another spring, but I'm like, this is getting way too complicated. It's already kind of complicated enough, and even though this is probably one of the simpler ones now, compared to the ones I made later. So yeah, this is the only one I really had locked down before I abandoned the stage and coming back to it, you know, a year and a half later. So I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. Now, the reason I abandoned the stage was because of the... Oh, actually, real quick. Another thing here is originally that red coin is much higher, but I'm like, hey, you actually can't really see that red coin. Like, if you forget about it when you're riding down the platform, you're gonna forget about it and you may not know what to do. So I wanted to have it there as a constant reminder that, hey, you need to get up to it. So yeah, I thought that was a kind of a cool idea for making the stage work. Also, like a small, I did tweak this shrine a little bit when I came back to it. Like, it was originally harder to jump up to this, and it also wasn't originally it also originally wasn't a high speed conveyor belt, but that's something I also fixed. Also, my God, so much to talk about. I had to have these be normal bricks. That way, when you hit the P switch, it gets rid of that spring and spawns another one. Really, it almost worked out amazingly well how these mechanics all tie together. Just naturally within the course of the game and solve my problem. So I was really happy with how everything turned out here. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the next shrine, which we can just slide through over here. So this is where I started running into problems. I think originally when I was playing around with bombs, I had no idea what to do with them. I had no freaking clue. I had a really, like, I was playing around with like a lemming style level, where you had to like lure, like, kind of like try and get bombs through this maze. But it wasn't working. I didn't think it was really true to the game itself at all. So, when I was really getting down to the final hours of having to finish the stage before Miiverse shutting down, which again didn't end up mattering, that's when I really had to put my thinking cap on and make this work. Actually, that should have been a ground piece, I think. So, now that's gonna bug me knowing that. That should, man. Anyways, so I had the idea of like maybe kicking bombs. So I had the idea of like isolating the bombs by themselves for a while, and then you having to do something to do, you have to do something with them in order to, solve this initial puzzle. So that is, of course, just kicking them across the gap. So these are round bombs, of course. And then I had the idea, I think I was already using the, I think I might have been already using the music block in the Magnesis Shrine. So I'm like, hey, why not just use that again? Reuse that mechanic at least. Give you something to trigger, because I wanted to have the bombs trigger something by themselves originally, but I couldn't find anything the bombs would trigger without breaking the level, which is why I also use ground pieces all over the place. Actually, yeah, there really should be a ground piece, because that bomb, if you kick the bombs over here, I guess I could, actually I don't think you can get the bombs over that piece. Sorry, I'm just thinking to myself at this point. Yeah, so I wanted to have you, trigger this. Now, I could have made this way simpler. I could have just had the red coin in the ground originally, but I want something a little bit more complicated. That's why I had to have you come up here, break this, and then you bust through the blocks up here in order to reveal a switch in a way that you have to drop in order to get the spring down there, which leads to one final puzzle. Because originally I had the spring down there just from the get-go, but that was too simple. I'm like, I want this to be a little bit more complicated, so I threw the spring up here, made you trigger it with that, and then you still have to, realize, hey, I need to drop the bombs onto the spring in order to open it and time it right, and I just killed myself. Okay, moving on. I'm getting bored of talking about this one. Let's move on to Magnesis, which is probably my favorite one, because this is the one I also sat here for the longest time, like, how in the hell to replicate the mechanics of Magnesis in Mario? Like, there's not really much that's drawn to you, besides booze, but then then I had to have it also kind of serve a dual purpose of being able to trigger something. So like a boo wouldn't really be able to trigger anything by itself, plus it can go through walls and whatnot. So eventually I realized if you throw an inanimate object in, or really any object in the clown car, it follows you around. I'm like, oh, that is perfect. It's like Mario's magnetic and he's pulling it to him. So, but then I had to figure out what can I do with that idea. Because the clown cars really can't interact with that much. They can't interact with normal blocks, they can't break them. But then I realized they actually can interact with the music blocks, and if I put a vine in that can trigger it. But then I had to figure out, well, how do you make that a puzzle? And I realized I can make it a puzzle by having you by making the process of getting the clown car to a point where it can actually trigger those things being a puzzle in and of itself. So initially, so in that process, I realized, if you come down here, the clown car is just gonna follow you down here, and you won't be able to trigger it. So that's when I realized, hey, I'll add this whole section over here. It allows you to see the whole stage, and hopefully you'll realize if I move quick enough, you'll have to move over here, and that will trigger the clown car moving onto the blocks, or bounce onto those blocks, which trigger those, which then lets you get up to it, and then you can then use a clown car to reach an area high above. So yeah, I'm probably explaining this really poorly. I'm kind of brain dead at this point, but anyways, then you drop down the shaft to the coin, and yeah, I'm just really happy with how that all came together once again. Finally, we'll move on to the final shrine. Okay, this is actually one that probably gave me the biggest difficulty, because Cryonis. What the hell do you do for Cryonis? You have ice blocks, but ice blocks are pretty limited in their usage. But then eventually I had the idea that these blue platforms kind of look like ice, and if you throw them on a track, you can kind of activate it like Cryonis. Now, originally I had it where if you activated them, they'll keep going up and down indefinitely. And I realized two problems with that. One, it looked kind of dumb because it didn't really remind me of Cryonis at all because they don't go up and down constantly. And two, it wasn't really much of a puzzle because once you activated them, the Buzzy Beetles would just kind of work their way naturally across by themselves. But then I realized, hey, if you have to time it right, this kind of makes it a puzzle by itself, especially because it's so easy to screw up the timing when you're going through it by yourself initially. In fact, this is probably the hardest puzzle in the shrines, I would think. So yeah, and this is the only one where you have to reset it if you screw up. You get one shot at it. If you mess up, you gotta reset it. And there was also, another reason too I had the door up there is because I realized if the door is not up there and you respawn, say down here, that moving platform won't be active, so you won't be able to get back up to the warp pipe and get out of here. So unfortunately, you have to ride down every time as a bit of a punishment in order for messing up. So yeah, I made a timing puzzle where you have to time the platforms, the Cryonis, where it looks like the ice pillars are coming out of the ground, rising upward, and then yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. Finally, we have over here. If you move over here, we have the end of the level. Now, once again, I made this so you can't actually see it from inside the shrine. Nor can you from over here. In fact, I even made it when you drop out, you can't even move left or right far enough. Like, you land right on the flagpole, so you can't break the immersion of the stage. And I even went the extra mile of adding ground around each shrine to make it look like you're underground. So, yeah, I thought that was a cool final touch. And also make it look like you're actually inside the building with a black background, as opposed to it being black on both sides. And then, usually I like having some final thing to wrap up the stage. In this case, it was extremely limited. I kind of wanted to have maybe a Ganon fight originally. I'm not quite sure how I would have done that, so it kind of worked out that I didn't have any space to do anything with, and instead I just threw in a Triforce so you land on, and get, even though it's not really a part of, Breath of the Wild. So, yeah, anyways, there you go. It's my extremely long-winded behind-the-scenes look of how I made this stage. Hopefully, it proved to be a little bit illuminating, and maybe inspire you in your own creations if you're still playing Super Mario Maker. I don't know if anyone is. I'm kind of amazed I even came back to this game. I really didn't think I would, but you know what? With Miiverse shutting down, I wanted to get these stages done. I put so much time in them already. I thought it'd be a shame if I didn't finish them and get them up. So, hopefully you enjoyed it. Even though you can't comment on it, please still play it and give me a star if you want, and comment on it in my YouTube video if you like. And yeah, that's it. I think my Mario Maker career is done. I think I am retiring. Just because Miiverse really was the heart and soul of this game, and it's sad that's no longer a thing. You can still make stages, you can still create stages, but not having that feedback kind of sucks. So until they make Super Mario Maker 2 or Zelda Maker, which would be amazing, I think I'm done. So, and especially since I love, I already made a Zelda stage. Let's take it to the next step. I want a proper Zelda Maker. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you later, because this video is already long enough. See ya, bye.